What's up, everybody? Let's talk Jets Radio. Hope you guys are all doing well. Wild weekend of football. It's late. Apologies we didn't do a live stream tonight, but we will be back tomorrow, 8 o'clock, talking Jets, talking Justin Fields in Alabama, talking with our special guest. So it should be a fun show. Make sure you guys are tuned in. Also, a huge shout out to the Buffalo Bill and Cleveland Brown fans. You guys totally deserve this weekend. If there's anybody that can somewhat relate, I think it's Jet fans. Haven't gone the past 10 years without any playoff wins, without any playoff appearances. You guys have sat through 20 plus years without a playoff win. I can't even imagine sitting here right now, only at the halfway point, thinking, that there's a whole nother decade of losing football and quarterback carousels and head coaching carousels and bad drafting and everything else that those franchises have put up with for 20 plus years. It's crazy to think about. And again, I don't even care about the quote-unquote division rivalry with the Bills. It's not a real rivalry until somebody wins something serious. Neither franchise has done that in about 50 years. So again, I'm happy for the fans. Same thing with Cleveland. Minus, I guess, the Gastineau game in the 80s. No real reason to hate them either. So enjoy it tonight. Have fun. Get drunk. But looking at the Jets and their head coaching situation, a lot of news today. It starts with Matt Campbell. It seems like that dream is pretty much dead. Basically reaffirmed his commitment on Twitter early on to Iowa State. And no surprise there. It seemed like if he was going to make the jump to the NFL, it was going to be for a perfect situation. The Jets are far from a perfect situation, not having the number one overall pick. Questions with ownership, questions at quarterback. So no surprise there. Also, you wonder about what kind of contract maybe the Jets were willing to offer. It seemed like 48 hours ago, maybe he was willing to take an interview. Now he shoots it down this morning. Maybe he got word that, the contract wasn't going to be good enough, or some other red flags that, he found out. Whatever it is, that dream seems like it's over. Same thing with Jim Harbaugh. He signs a 5-year extension with Michigan. Same thing with Bill Cowher. Really no connections at all with him, so I think that's over with. And then the big name that popped up tonight was Doug Peterson. Apparently, owner Jeffrey Lurie isn't really happy with the direction of the team, or at least the vision that Peterson's trying to sell as far as his coaching staff and what he wants to do with the team and the quarterback position. And according to Ralph Acciano, I guess, if Peterson does indeed get fired, he would immediately move right to the top of the list for Joe Douglas. So that's something definitely worth paying attention to. I know recency bias. We're going to look at this past year and wonder what the hell happened with Carson Wentz, if he really lost the locker room and how the players view him. I think there's a lot of red flags that the Jets would have to look at. He probably wouldn't be in my top 5, but it's hard to argue the resume. 3 straight years making the playoffs, wins the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. You just wonder what went wrong this year. But as far as the candidates that interviewed today, you got Rams defensive coordinator Brandon Staley, who did a phenomenal job against Russell Wilson on Saturday, held him to, I think, 11 completions. Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, who is rising on a lot of boards. It seems like the Chargers are the favorite there. I would love if the Jets were somehow able to convince him to come here. I think he'd probably be the top offensive coordinator that's out there. You got Rams defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. He's another hot name. You keep going down the list. Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. Reports today that it seems like he may get passed over again, which would be 3 years in a row. Pretty crazy. You wonder about the red flags there, whether it's, his past history, or he's just not good in the interview room, or people just think he's a, product of Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes. Not really sure what it is, but, reports that he may get passed over again. You got Panthers offensive coordinator Joe Brady, who already interviewed. Aaron Glenn, he's in the mix. Interesting candidate there, but again, without having the coordinator experience, I don't think that's really realistic. I wouldn't mind him at all as a defensive coordinator, coming from the Parcells and Sean Payton school. So I think that would be an interesting name. Maybe down the line he's a head coach. I just don't see it this year. You have Arthur Smith, who is also scheduled to interview with everybody right now, all 6 teams that have a vacancy. He's scheduled to interview with. So it'll be very interesting to see, whether or not he has his choice of teams, how he does in the interviews. You also have Florida's Dan Mullen. As you can see, this list is pretty fucking long. Rob Saleh and Marvin Lewis have also interviewed already. I think Marvin Lewis is the one name that scares a lot of Jet fans. Unfortunately, unless Peterson gets fired, he's really the only coach that has head coaching experience and kind of fits that CEO mold as far as what they're looking for. So you kind of worry about that. Not that I wouldn't mind him as a defensive coordinator, but as a head coach, it would be very hard for me to look past that 0-6 playoff record. And then the other guy who I don't think is scheduled for an interview yet, but his stock I think definitely rose yesterday, was Wink Martindale. Holds the Titans to 13 points, shuts down Derrick Henry in the run game. So I think that's a candidate that's also worth monitoring. There's been some links with him and the Jets that I think Boomer and some other guys put out there. So we'll see what happens there. And lastly, really quick on the quarterback drama, it seems like all options are on the table for Deshaun Watson, whether it be holding out or requesting a trade somewhere. Apparently he does have a no trade clause, so I think that essentially eliminates the New York Jets, only because if you dig deep into why he's upset and some of the reasons he's upset with ownership, I just don't think there's any chance he either accepts or even requests a trade to the Woody Johnson-led New York Jets. I think the Jets would probably be one of the last teams he would look to go to, for some of the reasons that, again, he's upset with Houston right now. Of course, it's no surprise that Miami apparently is in the mix. Wouldn't shock me if he went there at all. Josh Allen and Deshaun Watson battling it out for the division year after year. It would be so fitting. Hopefully, again, if he does get traded, which I still think is a slim possibility, it's to the NFC. But you never know. This could be another, Jamal Adams type situation. You just wonder if he'd be willing to actually, risk holding out and losing all that money. I think he's scheduled to make about $40 million this year. So that's a lot of money to lose. But if he's genuinely that unhappy and he thinks he can force a trade somewhere else, would not shock me at all. Just again, Jet fans, do not get your hopes up on him coming here. Like I said a few days ago, I think we could offer the best package. We could offer as good a package as anybody. But him actually accepting a trade to the Woody Johnson-led Jets, it will not happen. So that's pretty much it. We'll get into some stuff during the week as far as the head coaching search and free agency. A lot of guys were out there as far as candidates and free agents over the weekend. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night.